Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. We have a very special guest with us today, Mike Schoeb, the CEO of Alliance Laundry, and we are going to dive into some difficult topics.
We were pulling from a factory we have in Thailand to try to meet demand here in the United States. That was a temporary thing. This industry is very dynamic. There are lots of changes that are happening. Always, we are a manufacturer. That is our business. That is where we're focused.
Want more profits out of your laundromat business? Let us tell you about our new company, LaundroBoost, and how it can help you to boost your profits. You may be thinking you've used digital marketing companies before and they wasted your time and money. Well, that's why LaundroBoost was born. As 14-year veteran laundromat operators ourselves, we've been there, and it's sickening.
So what makes LaundroBoost different? Our team combines technical digital marketing with veteran laundromat operators and coaches to give your campaigns the ideal blend for getting you results. But then we take it a step further with our strategy. Our strategy is to be hyper vigilant with every marketing dollar, so no fluff.
Yeah, in the beginning, we focus on a three-pronged approach that we think is unique in the industry. The first is website design and landing pages, making sure those are honed in properly. The second is daily analytics studies and strategy with your Google AdWords campaigns. And the third is geofencing. It focuses on your nearest competitors and where your ideal customers live and where they shop. We believe we've got something special, and we've spent our own dollars here in Cincinnati to test it, and we're growing faster now than ever before.
To learn more, schedule a free discovery call and market study for your market. Visit laundroboostmarketing.com today. Okay, so Mike Schoeb, it is such an honor to have you on our podcast. We are so excited that you accepted the invitation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here too, and it's great to connect with you and Dave. And happy to be here. And thank you so much for the invite and giving me an opportunity here.
Yeah, well, it was the least I could do. I got to know Mike pretty well recently because they had a what did you call that, Mike? Was that a laundry owner summit? I keep calling it that, but I might be making that up.
Yeah, store owner council summit.
Okay, that's the word you use.
You can pick the name, but let's just call it getting together with people that matter. Yeah. And getting a chance to certainly meet each other, learn about each other, and see how we can be helpful.
Yep. And so just so our audience knows, a lot of the baseline for a lot of this conversation today is going to be around things that I heard and learned. And real quick, the idea behind it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but the idea behind it was they had a handful, I think 5 or 6 laundromat owners come up the ribbon. We spent 2 days up there. They fed us really good. They were very gracious. And they let us just pour our hearts out, kind of. Mm-hmm. I was pleasantly surprised how transparent and how open-minded and how thoughtful the entire team, but you specifically, was on that visit. Because corporate America can kind of get sort of a stigma, if you will, of being a little bit too straight-laced. And I know, I'm sure Alliance isn't this way, but I've worked at some companies in the past where they have their meetings and they say they want feedback, and then you realize halfway through the meeting they really don't actually want your feedback.
They want the positive feedback.
They want you to tell them how great they were. And I was a little, I have no baseline, so full disclosure, I was a little nervous that was kind of what we were getting into, but I was like, I'm going to give them a shot. And I couldn't have left there more optimistic about Alliance specifically as kind of a global leader in the industry, but also just about, obviously I use Alliance equipment and our partnership, and I've made it very clear to the industry that I feel very passionately that we are not adversaries, that we are partners. Mm-hmm. And I mean all manufacturers, all distributors. I think we're all in this together. I feel pretty passionately about that. And so we're super excited to be able to drill down. And just so our audience knows, I mean, Mike's made it pretty clear that unless we get into something proprietary or something that, he can't share, that he's an open book. And so we're going to have a very real conversation today. And so we're pretty excited about that. So thanks for your transparency, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. And again, I appreciate the opportunity. And let me just clarify, look, hearing only good news is not really helpful to anybody. So our job is to get better every day. And you can't do that unless there's open, transparent communication on both sides. So you guys are a key part of it. And having you and your fellow store owners up. I think it's the first time we've actually done that.
Yeah,
to my knowledge. And it was great. It was great to sort of connect at that level as a team and as a group. And you guys were, none of you were bashful in terms of the opportunities.
We
Yeah. So that's exactly what you want, right? Otherwise, it's just kind of a waste of time. So,
yep. Well, I can tell you too, the I forget 5, 6, 7 people, whatever it was, we spent a lot of time together going to the hotel as in the shuttle and privately without anyone from Alliance. And I can tell you that everyone felt the way that I do. I can speak for the group. We were all in awe of the transparency, and we were all left that council very optimistic. And so I thought it was really healthy. I hope you do more of them with other laundromat owners. I don't know the plans, but I thought it was really good for the industry. I think we can all learn from your executive team's open-mindedness, because we are all in this together. But anyway, let's jump right into it, man. We've got a lot of things we want to cover today, but I wanted to let people know that's kind of where this interview came from. So thank you for reaching out to us. First thing we want to do is just kind of get a little bit of a backstory. I suspect that a lot of people know who you are, but I'm not sure how well they know you. And so we want to give them a little snapshot into who is Mike Schoeb and how did you become the CEO of a $1.4 billion a year manufacturing company?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, and I started, it was a little bit smaller than that, but look, my background is I've done a whole lot of different things. I was a military officer for a while. I sold. Oh, really? I sold bananas for Dole Foods, ships, containers. I've done heating and air conditioning. I've done home building. I've done a number of different things.
Wow.
Swiss power tool business. Yeah. So I've been all around the world. And my background is, look, I always say I'm an American by birth, but actually most of my life was outside of the U.S. My father was an American diplomat, but look, I'm married. I've got 3 daughters. I have 2 French bulldogs in my house, and I have been with Alliance for almost going on 16 years. So I've seen an awful lot, an awful lot of change. It is the most fun in a job I have ever had. And I can say that honestly, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But look, I think our customers, I think the sort of value proposition that we bring to the industry, the laundromat stores in and of themselves, Dave, we've talked about it, right? It's a great business, but it really has that social impact also, where it changes neighborhoods. It's providing real value. It changes people's lives. It's just a great industry, a great business. We play in a lot of different segments beyond laundromat, but look, our core is really that, and that has been continually the fastest growing part of our business. And it has been a key part of it. And obviously we're investing quite a bit back into product and all those kinds of things. But essentially that's my background. I was a little bit long-winded there, but I love what I'm doing. I love the industry, and I love getting a chance to talk to people such as yourself. So,
did you come in as the CEO, or have you had other roles? Okay.
So I came in as the number 2 guy. I was president, chief operating officer for the first 2 years, and I was really brought in at that time. What they said to me is, "Hey, we've got a really good, strong North American business. We don't really understand this international thing. We don't really know quite how to do it." They had made an acquisition of a European firm. And so that was sort of my mandate is, hey, help us on that. And if you do okay, you have an opportunity to become the CEO. So I spent 3 years in that role and then was promoted into my current job, where I've been for well over a decade now.
So quick question, and sorry, Carla, I'm going to keep doing this. We both know I'm going to keep doing this. I have a million questions, and Carla does too. So I'm going to let her talk. But one of the questions I have: how does Alliance as a manufacturer kind of, I guess we could say, divide by revenue? I mean, obviously we have your big OPL business. I know you have a residential business. Don't know how big that is. And then obviously we have the retail laundromats. There may be categories I'm even missing. Well, I mean, I know there's franchising, and don't worry, folks at home, we are going to talk about that today. But I don't know if you divide by revenues or how do you even look at that, but how does your business structure
what percentage or whatever of your business is in those areas?
Yeah. So without disclosing too much around the sort of financial profile, but there are 4 segments that we play in, right? So it is residential, as you touched on. It is the on-premise, as you touched on. It is laundromat. And then the fourth segment is the multi-housing part of our business, which is common laundry rooms, military, university, that kind of business. You know, I would say that if I just talk about worldwide, it's a little bit different, where in the North American market, which we believe is the more advanced market, 70% of the market is really the vended piece. So it's laundromat. And it is multi-housing, right? And then there's only about 30%, we skip out and strip out residential, that is on-premise. In the rest of the world, on-premise is much larger. And that's why a company like us, you know, we're sold in over 155 different countries. We play very differently. The products that you use are very different. The segments where there are growth opportunities are very different. Although I will say that laundromat by far is it's the market we're most excited about. It's the market that has given us the most growth. It is the market that we continue to be really, really excited about in terms of the long-term, you know, future and potential of that business.
Do you foresee laundromats growing worldwide? Like, I know they're prevalent in the US. Do you see that growing in Europe and in Asia and stuff like that? Or is their culture just not, is that not attuned to their culture?
Yeah. So, Carla, I would say, look, it has changed. And again, I've been here a long time. When I first started, that was sort of the opportunity as you look at it. Hey, Alliance had a great product, but it did not exist in Asia. It did not exist in certainly Eastern Europe. And the stores in Western Europe looked an awful lot like our industry looked like, Dave, a long time ago, with a lot of sort of dark, tired, sort of old stores. But there has been, we see them all the time, right? For sure. But we identified that, getting back to your question, Carla, that there was an opportunity, because if you just think about the service and you think about the need and you think about, if you've had time to travel in the emerging markets and others, people live in really small dwelling sizes. Incomes are rising. You cannot put a washer and dryer in there. You have to process laundry somehow. So more money, really small housing, more and more desire to spend time with family and not have to do your loads of laundry. Large family sizes in a lot of these countries, it's a natural for laundromat. So we are seeing, I would characterize as, you know, truly incredible growth throughout the world. And look, we're putting in thousands of stores a year. Really throughout the world, both in Europe, throughout, even in the Middle East and Africa.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did I understand correctly? Did you say 70% of the industry, like you're talking the total industry, is retail laundromats?
In North America?
No, in North America. Well, no. So the rough cut, and look, the reality is, Dave, nobody really knows, right? Our industry,
I get it.
It is so hard. And so we always disclose everything. We put a big asterisk that says management estimates. Because we don't know. And, you know, we've tried to get a handle on it. It's very challenging. But I think directionally, the vended piece, so both multi-housing and laundromat, are about 70% of the U.S. market. The largest market of that percentage by far is laundromat.
In North America?
In North America, yeah. And then on-premise by far is the largest segment everywhere else in the world.
There's nothing better than free. Ever heard that before? Well, it's not true. You know what your laundromat customers like even better than free? It's fast. That's right. They want to save time more than they want to save money in most cases. They want to get in and out of your laundromat as fast as possible, and they'll pay more for that experience. We're proof of that here in Cincinnati. That's why we added HM Company drain troughs into our newest store in Cincinnati. While they may never know why, your customers will love that your washers all drain better and faster than with old school drain pipes. As if that wasn't enough, every HM drain trough is made in the USA, so they ship in only a few weeks, and everyone is custom made just for you and your project. If you want to provide your customers with a top of the industry experience, in your store, then contact your distributor to order your HM Company drain trough today or visit draintroughs.com.
Let's touch on not too long ago, it's getting longer, we went through COVID. How did that impact Alliance, and how has that changed things for you all?
Look, I would say COVID was something that was really.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, it was. I would say it was transformative, and my sort of outlook on life is life is about a series of challenges, honestly, and it's really how you choose to react to it, and it's nothing that you guys don't know, and I think most people believe, but those crises. They are tremendous opportunities. Always, there is always a silver lining, and I think adversity generally makes for better, stronger people and better, stronger companies. But yeah, I mean, if I just talk about it, our real problem was outside of a very rough, certainly April and May. June came back of 2020, things just exploded. But COVID was still, as you guys know, it was a very touchy situation. Nobody really knew about the science, and it was scary. And I think our employees were no different. The challenge we had was really never a demand issue. Our main factory here in the U.S. is in a rural community. It was tough to get people to come into work. Totally understandable. We did everything we could in terms of physical protection. Safety is priority number one. I think hopefully, Dave, you saw that in our factories. That is our core responsibility. Everybody goes home with the same fingers and toes that they had when they came in, and that kind of thing. But look, what happened is it forced us then. Demand swelled. Couldn't find people to really step back. Think about first how we were leading and managing. Changing our culture became really, really important. The transformation and the average age of our employees has radically adapted. The boomers are retiring. How you lead a boomer versus of my age versus a younger generation, it's really different. So one is we made a lot of culture and leadership changes. We changed wages. Inflation was real. It hit us very, very hard. We increased wages, in excess of 30% in a very short period of time. We also went, I think, Dave, as I told you, to 4 10-hour days. And then every fifth week, we'd work you on Friday too. But that sort of standard, the wages, the 4-day week, helped us really solve our labor problem and took care of it. Supply chain was very interesting. And I will say also the reshoring of, bringing and we had already really sort of been there. If you look at it as a percentage of our supply chain, we are predominantly here in North America, but that percentage shrunk. And I think today, look, there's very little we don't source that is, coming from the U.S., quite frankly. And that's the only way you can get security. Today, the world has really changed. It is regional versus global. And we carried a lot more inventory when you shut a production line down because you can't find a component. That gets really expensive. So we carry hundreds of millions of dollars more than we used to. We've got additional warehouses here still. Supply chain is getting better, but it's still an issue. So it forced us to do a lot of that, and just a lot of change, I would say, in general, that by far made us a better company today.
I know we were lucky in that we were completely renovating our newest location, and we got our HIPSH equipment just in time before it was like, months and months of backlog before you could get your machines. So we made it just barely. I know our distributor HM company, they're like, you got them just in time. You got the last ones we had.
Yeah. I mean, look, our lead time stretched out almost over a year, depending on the type of product.
Wow.
Crazy. I know you also built a facility nearby. That's a parts warehouse, I think. Can you talk about why you did that and how Was that because of the supply chain? Was that already in the plans?
Yeah, it was really already in the plans. It was our way. Again, I talked about the labor shortage here in the upper Midwest. Not a lot of people to begin with and not a lot new moving in. So again, it forces you to use automation to do different things. But what we did, Dave, is we went to a different labor market about 90 minutes away in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, from where I'm talking to you today in Ripon. And that, again, allowed us to get a new labor market. They had more available employees. And again, we are a very, I think, important supplier, but we're a great place to work. If you want to work, if you're willing to learn, our wage structure is great. The benefits are great. We are a union labor. We're very proud of that, United Steelworkers. And we provide a great living wage, and the true path to middle income for our factory workers. So we had done that already to get it. We moved our parts up there for sure. Some of you may have felt some of the pain of that move. And the other thing we did, yeah, I'm sure you did. My apologies to you certainly, and to everyone listening here. But in addition to that, it does act as a sub-assembly plant where we do a lot of what they call kitting. It's kind of automotive in nature. And it gets sub-assembled up there and then brought down to the Ripon factory for final assembly. And it just makes it much faster. And that labor has moved up now to that factory 90 minutes away.
So while we're on the manufacturing subject, now I know we'll move on to a few other subjects. One of the things I found interesting is there's this misnomer that Alliance is manufacturing laundromat equipment for us here in the U.S. overseas, that we're buying, whatever, Korean or whatever. And I know you do manufacturing overseas. The way I understood it, because I'm a very curious person, I ask a lot of questions on the factory tour and things like that. Sure. And they were explaining to us, and correct me if I remember this wrong, they were explaining to us that either all or almost all of the North American products that are distributed here are manufactured here, that you do manufacture overseas, but it's for your European and other Asian markets, things like that. I might have just totally butchered that, but can you fill us in on,
I think
maybe some misconceptions?
Yeah, I think you're accurate. I mean, but there was a period of time during COVID where we were pulling from a factory we have in Thailand to try to meet demand here in the United States. So that was a temporary thing. We did that for I would say 9 months or so. That factory, by the way, it's the exact same product line. The product quality coming out of that factory is no different. The processes, the standards, actually the leadership team is no different. It's like buying a Mercedes or a BMW or shit like it. It is identical. So that helped us for a little bit. But look, ultimately, we are like most global manufacturers. You want to have a factory where you want to manufacture where you market, because freight has gone crazy. Again, supply chains have gone crazy. Today, everything that is used here in the United States and sold here, with the exception of our soft mount washers, which are produced in our Czech factory, and we have a factory in China, in the Czech Republic, in Thailand, and then we actually have 3 here in the United States. I think you went to 2 of those, Dave. And but no, we're again committed, and we also are. We are North American manufacturers. 70% plus of our business is here in North America. This is what matters. Not that for any international people listening in, you are incredibly important too. But we participate, and we are committed to those markets, and we do that by having those factories in those regions.
I appreciate you addressing that. On this show, we always say we're just about truth. If there's a rumor, if there's a conspiracy theory, whatever it is, we don't have any agenda. We just want the truth to, exist, and especially among laundromat owners, because we're so mom and pop. So many of us build relationships and conferences, and even over the phone and Zoom and things like that. I think all it takes is, the old telephone game, right? Just takes one person pivoting by 5%. And 20 people later, there's this rumor that's not even in the realm of true. And so I was fascinated by that, because I had heard other rumors and had no idea if it was true. And on the factory tour, I asked them pretty extensively about that. And they were like, they did mention the 9 month. I think they mentioned that obviously during COVID, but just in general, they were like, if we were to have, say this factory burned down or something like that, in our workshops that we do here in Cincinnati, we talk about redundancies. Yeah, you knew where I was going with that. We talk about redundancies all the time. And we're not manufacturers, but from a service provider perspective, that's how you always deliver on execution is kind of what we teach in our workshops. And I found that fascinating that's the word that one of the people giving the tour used, as they said, we do have redundancies in place, either other suppliers and even overseas factories. And they were like, if something happened, we would pull from those resources. But as a general basis, when the supply chains aren't being disrupted, I think they said 100% of the equipment that you would purchase from Alliance in North America is manufactured here.
100%.
Yep. So.
All right. So I know Dave mentioned rumors a little bit ago. So I'm just going to jump in with this one. I know you've been buying distributorships. Why? And what is the long-term move there?
Yeah. So, one is I would say that, again, this industry is very dynamic. There are lots of changes that are happening. And frankly, I think that's probably consistent everywhere, but the pace of change is accelerating. And so the reason we're doing it is, one is we have many really very, very good partners who are, as part of their succession planning or sometimes lack of it, are looking for an exit, for the right partner. We're certainly willing to do that. We see great opportunity in it. And Dave, I know we spent some time with some of your fellow store owners. And look, I would say that we are really proud of our distribution partners. We think they are by far the best in the industry. It's part of what has allowed us to really be successful. They will always be a part of it. We will always have two-step distribution. But when there are partners or markets where we see an opportunity, and a lot of that revolves around, again, the succession planning, but also the opportunity where we see growth. We have somebody who may have a desire to exit, where we can bring the resources of the factory to really bring the infrastructure required. And I know we spent time, Dave, talking about, one of the challenges in the industry is not enough service technicians, right? Everybody's struggling with that. Maybe not having parts close enough in, not having enough qualified salespeople who can talk about the product and talk about the benefits and, really be consultative in terms of making sure they don't just sell you a box, they sell you the best box so that you have a good business. And that sort of feeds on itself and repeats it. But look, I think the appetite sometimes for some distributors to take risk, it is expensive to put that infrastructure in. It varies quite a bit. Some are very aggressive, some are long-term, others don't treat it that way. But where we see a market, where we think there's growth, where we see a partner and a leadership team that we believe in, and where we see an opportunity, in many cases, to invest, we're doing that. And that is part of the growth. And so we've made about 7 acquisitions in total. They are very pointed, very specific in markets that matter, I would say, in general. And as we integrate those businesses, we are investing fairly significantly back in, hopefully, those markets where we've done it. I think they can say that they're getting service levels that are probably on par with the best in the industry, in many cases more, because again, we can make a little bit of a longer term investment, given sort of our financial profile. It's very different if an individual smaller distributor makes a bet, if let's call it that, of a couple $100,000 or $1 million. If that fails, that's a real problem. That risk tolerance that it's different given our scale. We can do it. As I say to our board, with some frequency, if I'm not making bets and losing money on some things, I'm not doing anybody any service. You want me to take that risk. And so we do that, hopefully we win more than we lose. And I think by and large we have. It's calculated, but it's the ability to bring those resources in. It's part of, again, our sort of overall strategy, investing into product, investing into markets. But distribution is who we are. I'll also tell you that, what I said, Dave, transparently is, look, we've grown a lot. I felt that we had become more disconnected from the market. It's part of the reason to bring the store owners in. And being disconnected is not a great idea if you want to continue to be a leader in the industry. So those acquisitions have really helped us on the distribution side be closer to people like yourself. And really, I call it the point of the spear. And really understanding, breathing. So those guys, they are installing products, right? They are, by and large, the knuckles are somewhat cracked and, missing pieces of skin and other things. They've done the installation, they understand it. If you can feed that back into the engineering and product guys, it makes you much better, right? It makes you closer. It makes you more intimate. And that intimacy, I think, can bring a lot of benefit, not only to us, but I think it's needed for the industry, right? So a combination of all those things, I don't know if that explained it in the right way.
So my understanding is basically you had some distributors who either lacked succession plans, so they looked towards you all to step in to keep their distribution business going, or there were some who were in great markets but just didn't have the financial means to maybe be the best distributors they could be. They were great distributors, but they needed that extra financial backing, and so you kind of came in to provide the financial backing by kind of absorbing
I think
them.
and sometimes it's maybe they wanted to take it, but they financially couldn't take that. So to really develop the market, right, it takes time, it takes investment, it takes people. And all those returns are not fast a lot of times. So you have to be much longer term. So it's desire, it's appetite, but it's also capability. And I think that's a combination of those things.
So anything you can share on, and I don't want to get too in depth here. Not asking you to share strategy or anything, but there is I guess I'll just say it bluntly. There is a perception out there that alliances, or even other manufacturers for that matter, are just going to go around buying up all the distributors. Is that your intention? Can you share that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think industries change. They move up and down. Everybody is a mixed model. Our model and our commitment and our strategy is to be mixed in terms of our approach. So we have no intention. Look, distribution is who we are. We just need to be better at it. So we're getting closer to the tip of the spear. But when those opportunities present themselves, hey, I think it's actually good. But is the intention to completely buy out distribution and go direct? I don't think it works. I don't think it's needed. And as I said to you, Dave, honestly, we have a lot of capital requirements in our business. It is not inexpensive to develop these products and to field, the other resources where we see factories are, hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's about the return profile. The capital sort of allocation strategy, if I use that terminology. But look, we believe in distribution. We will always have distribution. I think it's really important to have them because that entrepreneurial spirit and that connection to that local community, as you referenced in your distributor, who you were very clear, you'll like them a lot. They're really important to you. They have helped your business. I think that's important to continue to do. And it's one of the things when we acquire, we really do try to keep the local management team in place because they're the best suited. They have the relationships. They understand the local market in a way that you just can't if you're a global manufacturer, selling in 155 different countries. You have to have that local footprint.
So Alliance, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but so Alliance sees the opportunity or maybe even the need to strengthen their distribution network. Do you see opportunity for improvement in the distribution network collectively outside of that conversation?
Yeah, I think, hey, it's our distribution network is a Pareto like anyone's. We have really, really good ones. We have a lot that are quite good. And then we have some that struggle a little bit. So our job is to help them as best we can, again, to be transparent in terms of our communication with them, as we expect them to point out to us where we struggle, have the transparency, the relationship, the ability to have that same direct conversation. Okay, thank you so much for telling me that. Now let's talk about where you have an opportunity, but all in the vein of improving our service level and making sure that our products are represented by the very best people in the industry. We're very proud of our product. You guys certainly are using them.
We like it.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. But look, if it's not represented by somebody who's passionate, somebody who's knowledgeable, somebody who has the infrastructure. When you have a problem, do they have somebody who can answer the phone, somebody who can get out and help you service a unit? Look, at the value proposition is directly correlated to that footprint in the local market. You cannot just be a manufacturer because you need both ends of the partnership to be strong, to be the very best. And we are only as good as they are. And vice versa. They're only as good as we are. And it's that partnership. Can't do it on your own.
So you're not going to direct to consumer. That's what I heard.
Yeah. No, I don't see that. But look,
there's a lot of people that think that's the answer, and I disagree. But I'm very passionate about distributors, as you know. So. Oh yeah,
well we are too. So I think that, and again, we have been very transparent with our distribution network, and it's something for me as the CEO leading the sizable business here. The one thing I've learned is you can't say it one time. There's nothing that has changed in terms of our strategy. We came right out front and told our distribution about those initial acquisitions, why we were doing it, what was in it for them. But you can't say it one time. You have to say it over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Really.
Absolutely. Well, my experience with that has been, I talk to a lot of laundromat owners. Obviously, I consider a lot of them my friends personally. And my experience has been that when people think direct to consumer is the answer, let's just say for the industry, typically they feel that way because they've never had an experience with what we call a rock star equipment distributor like HM Company. Yeah. And I will unapologetically sing their praises until the end of the earth. I absolutely, I said this at the thing we were at with you all, and I credit easily 50% of my success to my distributor, the relationship, and
the mentorship,
the guidance, the countless insane amount of hours that they put into that. Before we move on, service technicians, is there anything, I mean, we talked about it at the council too, but is there anything Alliance can do to help with that? What is the answer or the answers to that? Because it's a huge problem.
Yeah, look, I would say it is a national problem. It's not a commercial laundry industry problem. Yeah. Everybody is struggling. Everybody has challenges. It is across any industry. It's plumbers, it's mechanics.
All the trades.
Pick any of the trades. Exactly right. Yeah. And so what I would say is, Dave, what we can do is do our part, obviously, in terms of the training and teaching. We've got a very large, by far the largest in the world. We've got well in excess of 30 field trainers who are out there helping distribution. We are hiring certainly our own technicians. We have schools here that we put on with frequency. We have an online Alliance University. We will teach and train in any format that can be done. We've got, I can't remember the exact count. I used to follow it very closely. In our Alliance Online University, it's tens of thousands of students. Many of our distributors and route operators use our hiring. They actually somebody can come in and say, I'm a good technician. We have testing available to say, hey, you can actually read a wiring diagram. You can do those kinds of things. So all of that, I would say, is the baseline. And that is the difference versus many of our competitors. If we have that infrastructure, we think it's really important. But beyond that, I think it's also, if you think about product design, what we're really developing is that lack of talent in the trades. It isn't going to change. It will not I just don't believe it's going to get better. I think the pendulum is swinging a little bit more. The return on going to college, not every kid is made to go to college. I think that ship is actually coming back. And people are saying, wow, if I can make a great wage here as a plumber or as a commercial laundry technician, that's pretty good. And, maybe they, as many of our distributors have, they then become independent owners. It's a real path.
Yep.
But it's also in the product design piece. And some of the new advantages on some of the new product is, having some of that self-diagnosis, having the predictive analytics that are built into the product, those kinds of things that are able to simplify the diagnosis of what is actually going on in the product, right?
I'm curious. So, like, if a laundromat owner wanted to fix their own equipment, we don't, but some do.
Yeah.
Can they do Alliance University? Can they go to these trainings, or is it just for your distributors to train their own service techs?
Yeah, it's a great question. The truth is, Carla, I don't know exactly what our policy is. If you ask me sitting here, now somebody may tell me why that's a dumb idea, but I think in general, hey, we would, and I don't think distribution would disagree. I think it would really depend on the level and the complexity of what's going on with the product. Obviously they have to live off of service. If you want them to have service technicians in the field and you want them to be responsive, they've got to pay that same wage. If they don't have enough demand, they are not going to put those people in. So it's really a choice. And so it's kind of a fine line, I would say, and it depends. And, as you know, Dave, there are many multi-store operators out there. They have their own teams of technicians. So it's not a simple answer, but I would say we are committed to being, again, as open, as transparent, as helpful as we can be. And if that demand comes forward and says, hey, we really need this, we'll address it. We'll create a product for that. Conceptually, I don't see an issue with that. I think it's going to be probably where the industry goes. Although, again, the product is, in order to meet many of the new coming, I'm sure, energy standards and other things that are coming, they will, by their nature, become more complex. And so then you get into electronics, you get into other things like that. And it's like the old VW bug. Even I could fix a VW bug in the old style. Today, I open that hood and I have no idea what's going where. Right?
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I appreciate your transparency there. Since you hit on technology, and I promise, guys, we're going to get to franchises. I promise. Since you hit on technology, I am in love, and I mean in love, with Hipsch Touch, and I know Speed Queen's Touch exists too. The controls, the technology. There are some people that just believe, and I have my own opinions, but I want to get yours. There are some people that just believe it's just a touch screen, meaning it's just fancy, other than being able to touch and do something versus the manual. I'm calling them manual, but they're electronic too, buttons that you were to push on an overlay or something like that. That's the only difference. Can you talk just real briefly about why Speed Queen or Alliance, why Alliance went down that path of creating touch controls and what your opinion on those are?
There's probably over a decade from concept to development to now where it's been in the field for a number of years. But what we heard very consistently, and if you think about the industry, we've had some conversation on this, Dave, around, hey, it is an ecosystem. Everybody needs to be fed, if I use that terminology. Looking at many of the stores that were not reinvesting, older product, all those kinds of things. And what we heard very consistently was hesitancy to raise prices. Inflation has always been around. Yes, it's accelerated recently. It has always been there. If you as a store owner are not making a return on that investment, the reality is you're not going to be in a position to reinvest. You're not going to be able to offer the kind of service that I think we all want to do. But hearing very consistently over and over and over again, but many of my customers are, they're hardworking people. They don't have a lot left over. I want to give them more, but they might walk to another store because of, I raised my price for a quarter, right? And then this continual hearing that over and over and saying, all right, well, so what's the answer here? And our answer was to sort of think about that and then offer the actual user of the product as they approach the product, let that product itself raise the price and merchandise versus having the store owner have to take that step. So probably, I'm sure as you, hey, your base wash and dry is going to be somewhat competitive with your local market, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those additional steps up, the extra rinse, the hot wash, whatever it is, you're not making that choice as the store owner. Mm-hmm. It's that person in the store saying, you know what, I understand the value because the screen tells you, hey, if you got whites, a little bit of hot water helps you a little bit. Those kinds of things where it merchandises and helps the store owner. And I think, Dave, you mentioned in your own store, you're experiencing exactly that. All of a sudden, the math really starts to work. The returns come in, and we get what we really want is a healthy, vibrant laundromat universe that is also really interested in having and providing the very best product and service, which means you need new equipment that's clean, that's working, it's not out of order. Look, I'll tell you that the look and feel is also really different in a touch store versus a non-touch store, right? It's just a different vibe that it brings. And, you know, you've seen it, and particularly at night and other things. It's different. And we hear that from end users all the time.
Yeah.
I like too that the ability to switch languages. I mean, it's not a huge need in our market, but I know in a lot of other markets it is. And we do have some Spanish speaking customers, but pretty few. But I love that it can do that. That's one benefit of the touchscreen.
I feel very passionately about this. We made the, I don't think it's a secret that it's an upcharge. You know, it's a premium thing to purchase touch controls. And I can, I'm not going to do it for here today, but I can already quantify at our new store, which has been open about 15 months now. I think it was roughly $1,000 per machine to bump it up for the touch screens. And I can tell you through the cycle modifiers, which is what Mike was referring to a minute ago, we've already generated more revenue compared to our other 3 stores that are non-touch. That, by the way, have all those cycle modifiers. So we still have the Galaxy controls and everything, but in the touch screen, what I tell people is that touch screen is so user intuitive that it acts as a salesperson. Imagine how many more cycle modifiers would be chosen if, let's say, the owner or your best employee, your manager, whatever, stood next to an 80-pound washer all day, every day. And as people were starting the machine, just gently explained, hey, did you know this does this and why it does this? And that's essentially what the touch controls do. So I estimate that we've already gotten our money back out of that extra $1,000 per machine in our store in roughly 15 months. And we ain't getting rid of it anytime soon. So I think it was a pretty good investment for us. I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thanks for saying it again.
Appreciate the investment. I know there was some, we won't go into it, but I know there was some bumps and bruises along the way to develop that technology. We learned a little bit about that at the factory and stuff. Kind of fascinating. Don't mean to rip off any old scabs, but I know y'all made a big investment.
We did, and you're being very kind in the way you characterize it. Yeah.
All right. So Dave has been teasing this long enough. We need to get into the discussion. So I, being the one who honestly knows less about the industry, I know some manufacturers have been creating corporate stores. You all have created some franchises. Can you tell me the difference between those and why what's your vision behind the franchises versus the corporate stores and all of that?
Sure. One is I would say, look, if you step back a little bit, I think it's really a reaction to what we were hearing very consistently. And remember, this goes back. I mean, our stores are now 7 years old. There was a change, and there is a change in the industry, and it's a very positive change, I think, in that you are having more and more people really looking at the laundromat industry, saying, "Wow, this is pretty exciting. This is a really good business," and the profile is changing from and to much higher net worth people. Much more sophisticated people are coming into the industry, and they're looking at just the business attributes. But I don't need to certainly preach to this group here, but it's attractive, and it's a tremendous business. But what we heard consistently is they would oftentimes go out. They would look at existing stores. Many of those stores were not in great. And by the way, we have great operators. We have tremendous. There is this renaissance, Dave, which I know you want to touch on a little bit later, that is vibrant. It's really different. But many of these people coming in saying, look, I don't want to buy, and I won't buy a washer and a dryer. I want to buy a business, and I need structure, and I want help, and I need comfort. And in return for that, hey, I'll actually get in here and I will invest, but I'm not doing it unless you hold my hand a little bit. It's a little bit, in some ways, sort of what you're doing, Dave, in a different fashion. So again, many, many years ago, there didn't exist people like you, Dave, or other resources people could go to, help them through that decision. Not that distributors don't do that as part of their normal business. It was just a different profile of people coming in. And so we looked at it and said, okay, maybe we can create something, number one. Number two, as I referenced, as we grew, we got very far away from the end and that tip of the spear. And we said, if we go try to do this ourselves, we'll actually understand more what it means to be a store operator. And I think that's really important. So I understand your life. I do business reviews with our portfolio of store leaders and managers. I know how the product works, what is there, what isn't there. And what we're really doing is taking that and then incorporating that back into product design. Because first and foremost, and always, we are a manufacturer. That is our business. That is where we're focused. But it has to come from good market, good intelligence. So there is the byproduct of that. But ultimately, it's catering to a market that is looking for a little more structure. And many of these people are coming from quick serve restaurants where they're used to franchise. They like it. And, hey, we're not the only offer on the street, as you know. Ours has been a little bit slow. I think we've got 14 of our own, and there are probably another 14 operators in. It is not easy to scale this thing up, and I think it's just it's a product. It's almost like a Toyota having. We would characterize it maybe almost like a Lexus out there. There's not a lot of people driving them, but there's some that want it, and if you want it, we're happy to. Talk to you about why you might consider it. It is not for everybody. I think it will always be a niche part of the market for a particular profile. And so, we've got this product like a Toyota does for those who want that and don't choose another option out there.
So are you talking about the franchise or a corporate store?
Well, corporate store is sort of our footprint to be able to really learn more on the product side and to be able to cater to, you can't have a franchise unless you have an existing footprint of some stores.
Okay. So the corporate stores, though, like you have a corporate store and then you sell it to an owner and then you're hands off franchise, you're still getting revenue from them?
So the franchise is, so we own this small portfolio. We are not growing that portfolio. You will never see us open another corporate store. That count is never going to increase. Okay. Mainly because of, if we talk about the capital requirements, look, it's expensive, as you know, right? It requires real money. As a manufacturer, running these factories, the tooling, the other things that are required, that's where our money goes. Yeah. So, but it is important to be able to stay connected, to be able to transfer that back to the product piece. So we have our corporate stores, and to be able to offer a franchise, you have to have something called an FDD, a financial disclosure document, that shows exactly in full transparency how those stores do. Yeah. And so that's why we keep it.
Okay, so you have corporate stores. How many franchises do you have in the U.S.?
So I think it's a really small number, Carla. I think it's around 14, something like that.
Do you foresee that growing?
I think it's part of the market, but again, in a universe of 26,000, pick a number, somewhere in that range, does it ever become a meaningful part of the market? I don't think it does. I think it's a unique product. Some people really are attracted to it for the reasons I talked about. But does it ever become like a McDonald's or a Burger King or any of that kind? No, I don't think so. Right.
My other question would be, do you stay away from like for instance, say someone came to you. So we buy Alliance equipment here in Cincinnati. Do you have any loyalty to people that purchase your equipment? Like if someone came to you and said, I want to own a franchise in Cincinnati, so it would be a competitor of ours. Do you have any type of loyalty where you won't franchise in areas that there's already people using Alliance equipment?
Yeah. So look, it's not a hard and fast rule, but that is part of the reason it's been so slow to get out is trying to be very careful in terms of where they go. And understanding that relationship, right? It's a product. It has to. If all we do is pop them, you could do it, I guess. But at the end, the result is going to be lack of loyalty. It's not something that a smart person would do. I would carry. We try, not that we don't make dumb mistakes with some occasion, but we certainly try to avoid them, right? So we have to be very careful about it. We have to understand, where they're going. What is the market? Is it being well served? Those kinds of things. But where we see active, dynamic store owners like you guys are, and you're out there, and the underlying market is being well served, it's kind of goofy, right? So that's how I characterize it.
Yeah, I mean, just being blunt from what I hear from other laundromat owners, I know there's almost I don't want to use Alliance because they might come into my market and compete with me. I don't want to use Hipsch Command because I don't want them to have all of my data when they could come in and compete with me. Have you thought about that maybe Alliance isn't the best people to be positioned to do this franchise? Like maybe, I don't know, like selling off that portion of it and making it its own company so you don't have that competitive? And maybe I'm overstepping here. I'm just being blunt.
No. Look, I think this is good. We want to be transparent. We want to be open.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, to be honest, it's a program that was launched, again, a number of years ago. The market has changed. It's something that we evaluate on a pretty regular basis. And it's, Dave, I think we talked about that when we were together in Ripon. I would say it's under evaluation. Let me just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I know, and your franchises, though, are booming, I guess, in Europe and Asia and over there, where do they not have as many maybe independent-owned laundromats? Because I know laundromats just haven't been as much of a thing over there.
Yeah. So look, in Europe, we have over 2,000 Speed Queen stores. We're putting in, I think, an average of about 2 a day that are going in. They're a little bit different, and it's a bit of a different model where it's what they call a licensed model versus a franchise. Transparency is something we're thinking about, where really it's like a franchise, but not in the sense that it's just helping people with the box, with the layout, with the design, that kind of thing, and offering that in a more sort of open, transparent way. And, if you look at some of our early stores, right, there's a lot of copycatting going on. I think there are things that we brought, and I don't know if you've been to any of those stores or some of the knockoffs. They're really not, I mean, they're nice. And there are things that, a lot of people have adopted, right? So again, it's,
we love raising the bar. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, and look, we want everybody to win, right? And so I think it's a part of it. But markets are changing, things are changing. It is something that certainly we're evaluating.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask a few questions, Mike, and I appreciate you being so transparent. Sure. One of them is, so you stated that the strategy behind building corporate stores and eventually franchises was market research and data and things like that. I think there's a lot of laundromat owners that would say, can't you get that information from a distributor? Maybe not all, but your best distributors, if they really are in touch. And I'm going to push a little here. I hope this is okay. I want to be respectful, but if I'll speak for HM, right? HM can give you all the data you want. because they have very intimate relationships with their customers, with their best vended customers, not just us. There's probably a couple dozen of them that I know for a fact. I think that a lot of store owners would say that maybe that doesn't pass the test of necessary, because you can get that data in other ways without creating a conflict. What are your responses to that?
Yeah, well, first, look, when you say data, to me, it's more about intimacy.
Or market research, I think you said, yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's more about taking that and being able to feed it back into sort of the product piece and do that. So I think it's important. I don't think it's the only way to get data. So I would, fully admit that. Again, this is a very small portfolio, right, of stores that we have. We learned a lot. We learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes. We learned how hard it is to do it right. And that makes us a lot more knowledgeable in terms of how that product is applied. It makes us a lot more knowledgeable in terms of, we have sort of the operating system around being able to manage multiple stores and do things. And you guys, may or may not use some of our insights platforms and things like that. And just, again, trying to bring that forward to the market, I think would have been doable. It would have been a different level. Again, if I use that word intimacy, I don't mean to overuse it. But those are examples of where we probably wouldn't have been able to do what we did without that, right?
But now that we're on the other side of that, that's something that and I'm not pinning you down. You said you're going to continue to reevaluate. I'll leave 100%. That be. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Very appreciate the transparency. Absolutely.
Look, the one thing I will tell you is you need to stay true to your core. I will repeat, we are a manufacturer. That is what we're really good at. Yeah. We have struggled on that piece. We're not, I think we're getting better. We've learned a lot. I talked to you about why we did that. I fully understand it. I fully understand the emotional component. But let's just talk about the facts. So Alliance has been at this for almost a decade. There are 26,000 stores, give or take a little bit. I think after 10 years, there's 26. That's 0.001% of the market. So, look, I understand it. I also want people to understand the facts. And look, those facts are you can't argue. I mean, they are facts. But it is something that is under evaluation. Things change, and I'll just leave it at that. It is under evaluation, but I get it. I would just ask your community and your followers and you, relax. The emotion is important. Facts are what really matter. And I fully understand the chatter. I fully understand the lack of comfort. I acknowledge that. I get it. I understand it. It is under evaluation. That's all I can tell you at the moment.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And full disclosure, guys, Mike knew that we were going to, we told him we wanted you to come on the show. We want to ask you these questions. And he was open to it. So one of the things I want to make very clear here is, while it was behind the scenes, our council trip to Alliance, when I said they were open-minded, they were transparent, they were authentic, they were not defensive. They could have, we came at you guys a little hard at times, and you did not get defensive. You were very professional and understanding and compassionate, and for that matter, you were just now even. But I think the thing that I will leave this with is, people make buying decisions based on emotion.
Sure.
And so I think that's, it is real, that emotion is real, and a lot of it's unquantifiable. But I think people do make decisions based on emotion, technology wise, even in manufacturers and equipment wise. And that's just a statement I'll leave out there for all the manufacturers. As we move forward, I believe that we are all partners in this. I believe we're all better together. And, it's just best if those conflicts aren't there. I think a lot of laundromat owners feel that way. But your job is to make sure Alliance is a healthy company. And I can absolutely see why you made the decisions you did. And I'm hoping that this discussion shows other laundromat owners that you're not trying to and I genuinely believe this, that you're not trying to run us out of business. You're trying to drive the industry forward. And sometimes innovation gets a little messy. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, innovation is always messy. And then look, I'd also say, hey, we're not the only people
Absolutely.
in the space. I think we are much more transparent than some of our competitors, but this is not a unique phenomena to Alliance. So, as you make those decisions, I think you got to think about all of that, and I think you got to think about the product. You have to think about the distribution. You have to think about the 0.001%. You have to think about our core. I think you have to think about the evolving nature of the industry. I think you have to think about the capital requirements that are required to develop the new products. We're really clear, right? We are a manufacturer. That is where we invest our money. We can't do the sort of emotional, where the mind might gravitate to. The facts are very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Completely understandable. Awesome. Thank you for going down that journey with us. Couple more questions. I know we're keeping you a little long, but I'm going to be honest, Mike, if there's any episode I'm comfortable going long, it's this one. Because I'm eternally grateful for your transparency and authenticity. So a couple quick questions, maybe a little bit more shotgun, but I do want your thoughts as the CEO of Alliance on these. What are your thoughts on full service laundry centers and the evolution of where that industry, where the industry is going in that direction? I know you're not operators per se, but what are your,
no longer just being self-serve, but offering drop-off, offering pickup and delivery, and dry cleaning. And
what are your thoughts on the full-service laundry center, the wash, dry, fold, pickup and delivery revolution that is happening? And what are your thoughts on that? I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, look, I think again, it's a go back not so long ago. Everybody used to mow their own lawn, right? Very few people I know are mowing their lawns today. It's that desire for more time. It's valuing your time differently. Everybody looking for convenience. That is the ultimate manifestation. I will tell you that, again, we've got a residential side of our business. When we do product teardowns of competitors, the cycle times, if you have your own in-unit washer and dryer, it's getting longer and longer to meet some of the energy standards today. They will continue to get longer. You need more time on target to get the cleanliness targets to, be able to wash and dry. And what used to be maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes cycle, it's 3 hours per wash and dry in some of the competitive stuff we do. We see many competitive products that don't get the cylinder, so in the middle of the load, it's still dry. There are some goofy stuff out there. And so that is, again, I think driving people to say, wow, my time is valuable. I understand I have to pay for somebody to do that but I'm willing to do it. I want to spend time with my family or whatever. So I don't think that changes. I think every market is different. I think, people are struggling with inflation at the moment. And again, every market's different, but I think the long-term trend is people looking for value and looking for service. And I don't think that changes. And I don't care if it's your lawn, if it's your clothing, if it's whatever it might be. If you can find somebody to do that in a professional manner at a reasonable price, it's going to create a lot of opportunity for a lot of operators out there.
Yeah. I'm obviously, you probably know my opinion. If you don't, I'm pretty passionate about that too. So very exciting stuff. So last question today, and we'll let you follow up with anything we haven't covered today that you think's important. But I appreciate the time. I know we're a little over. So at the council, you made the statement in front of us that my heart skipped a beat. You said we're in the middle of a renaissance in the laundromat industry. I've been using the word revolution. Your word's probably better than mine. Why do you feel that way, and what do you see, and what do you think is going to come out of that? Crystal ball it a little for us. We won't hold you to it.
Yeah, look, I think we're seeing it today, Dave. If I think, again, I've been here going almost on 16 years. If I think about the general state of the industry 16 years ago, and you now fast forward to today, and you think about some of these incredible stores that are out there, and you think about these incredible operators that are out there, you think about the multi-store operators that are growing, that are out there, you think about, again, the experiences that people are getting. It is a renaissance. It is changing. Those communities are being served in a much, much better way. And at the end, you have to step back and think about that. At the end, we are serving communities that are out there. They deserve better in many of these markets. And I think a lot of times if I see store owners, some are doing a tremendous job. There are others, they're not serving those communities well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the reason the renaissance is happening, is people are identifying it. When markets are not well served, innovation and other things will come in that will be taken up. And my message would be, look, you have to think about that. If you're a store owner, it ultimately always comes back to serving the community. And if you provide a great service, you have a clean store, if your product is new and clean and working, if your attendants are well-trained and professional and respectful, you're going to gain traffic. You're going to gain loyalty. You will grow your business and you will be very profitable. If you don't do that, somebody else is going to fill that void. Mm-hmm. They will come in. It's just how markets matter. This is a free market. There's free choice. So you always have to go back to the consumer, I think, to that end user, and think about them. And I know you do, and I know the best operators do. Mm-hmm. Those markets that are underserved, those are called opportunities. People will come in.
That's right.
So that's what I would characterize. And that is what's driving the renaissance, because, look, the most exciting thing for my job, and I say often, is when you go into those underserved communities, you find an investor and an operator who gets it, who makes that $1 million store in a market that is being underserved. And I won't get into other characteristics, but look, they're being disrespectful.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Now that person comes in, they've got that clean store. There's pride. There's pride in the community. There is loyalty. There is recognition. Hey, this is somebody who understands us, somebody who's willing to make an investment, somebody who cares. And I like that. I want to respect that. I want more operators like that to come in. And those deserts that happen in some of the urban communities, that's the opportunity. And it's not an easy job. You have to be very brave to make those investments. But look, I think the reward will come. And I think that's part of the attractiveness of what we're all doing at the end. And we're trying to play our part in making sure that the equipment that is used is the very, very best, that it's reliable, that it's long-lived, that it does the things the touch, for example, does, and helps guide people to the right decision.
Wow. I couldn't have scripted that any better. I appreciate that. I'm holding back tears, and I'm not very good at holding back tears, Mike. But good stuff. And you know what? I pushed Mike a little bit a minute ago. I mean, Carla did on the whole franchise corporate store things. I'm going to push all the owners back home right now. If you are feeling emotional, if you're feeling threatened by any franchise, even an independent that comes in with just deep pockets and building these gorgeous stores and things like that, maybe you need to look at yourself. Right. And I can say this because I've had this conversation with this dude right here in the mirror. Okay. Maybe you need to look at yourself and the way you're serving the community. And maybe you're doing a good job, but you could do a great job. Mike talked about the opportunity. We're all entrepreneurs, right? And there are millions of entrepreneurs out there that aren't in our industry right now. And if they look in your market and they don't see an opportunity, they're going to go look somewhere else. So you can either serve that community, as Mike mentioned, or someone else can do it. But at the end of the day, don't give them that opportunity. I use the term all the time, be uncompetable. And it's, I don't even know if it's a real word. I just kind of made it up. But I say, make your business the best that it can be today. And then tomorrow, challenge yourself to be the best it can be tomorrow. And if you do that, at a worst case scenario, you're elevating the community. You're serving the community in an amazing way. And you're also fending off that competition. Just serve your community, obsessively focus on serving those people. And there is so much opportunity out there. I think there's plenty of money for all of us to be made if we're doing that. And by the way, I'll just state it pretty bluntly. If you don't do that, you're going to get left behind. I say it all the time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You're going to get left behind. Somebody is going to come in and serve that community in a way that you refuse to do. And I think that's good. That's a big part of our mission, is what we call elevating the industry. And I know it's the same for Alliance. I want to speak very clearly for just as an independent person who is a customer of Alliance. I want to say that I am incredibly encouraged, and not that I was discouraged, but I'm incredibly encouraged by my visit, by the fact that you agreed to this, but by the transparency. I don't know that a CEO of a major manufacturer's ever been on a podcast, not that any of them have been around very long. And I think it speaks a lot about you as an individual. I think it speaks a lot about Alliance as a company. And that's also, I want to tell the audience, that's the same experience that us owners had when we went to the council up there. They couldn't have been any more transparent. They are authentic. They are looking to innovate. These are our partners, guys. And I'm not just speaking about Alliance, but I'm speaking about my experience with Alliance. At the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we can drive this industry forward. It's happening. I hope you'll come along for the ride.
What you said is 100% spot on. People will go where opportunity is. And if they see it underserved, I will guarantee every day people are out sensing. They're looking, they're hungry. And if they are hungrier, and if they have the capital, they're going to strike, and they will take that mark. It's just real. So people don't like that message. But you can't not invest in your stores. You can't not respect the community and expect somebody to bypass it forever. They will do it. And again, ultimately, I think it's really good. Like I would say, even for myself, competition makes us all better. It's really important.
I'm not going to apologize for getting emotional, because that's who I am as a human being, and I feel passionately about it. But I can't state it enough. I'm going to state it one more time, Mike. Thank you. Anything, I know we're just little guys in Cincinnati over here, but we're trying to do our little part. Anything we can do for Alliance, for the industry, by the way, for any of the manufacturers out there. We use Alliance equipment. I genuinely believe we're all in this together, even other companies. And I want to leave with this, and you feel free to have a statement if you want, Mike. But your executive team made it very clear that you believe that all the manufacturers are in this together. And yes, you're competing, but you're not threatened by each other. And you think you all together are stronger than the sum of the parts. And I forget exactly the terminology that was used there, but I thought that was a pretty strong statement by Alliance. I don't know if the other manufacturers feel that way or not, but I thought that was really indicative of the future of our industry. Is I think we're all in this together. All right, Carla, anything left? No?
I think we hit the hot points.
All right, man. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your team so much for having us out. Guys, I'm just going to end it right there, or I'm just going to keep rambling. But Mike, any last minute messages or words? I know we've kept you over on your time, and I apologize. Any last words for our audience today?
Yeah, look, Dave, look, it's first, let me say thanks again for inviting me on your show. As I said, I think you're doing a great job. I think the industry is better because of what you're doing. I would just ask your viewers to, think about us and what we're providing to the industry. We're very proud to be a premier equipment manufacturer and leader. And, outside of that, don't hesitate to reach out. And I certainly wish everybody a great success. It's a tremendous industry. We are really excited about the future. And there is huge potential in this industry in a way that has not been there for a while. And I think it's going to be a significantly better, brighter future than it is today. And it's pretty good today, but it'll be better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. In closing, I'm going to leave the audience with a quote that a friend of mine told me several years ago. He said, "I've never bought a new washer and dryer that didn't make me a lot of money." So remember that, guys. Investing in new equipment, investing in the best technology. By the way, investing in a relationship with a Rockstar equipment distributor. And by the way, Rockstar equipment distributors, that means you need to be available to the industry, to the market. You need to step up your game if you're not currently a Rockstar distributor. We all need to do better. But at the end of the day, invest in new equipment. I'm a big fan of it, and no
pays
lines.
For itself.
It pays for itself. I've written articles on it, done videos on it. Everybody knows. Anyway, so we're going to leave it right there for today. Everyone back home, thank you for going a little bit long with us, but I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you see Mike at the Clean Show or anyone else, He's a very real guy. Go up and talk to him. He's an amazing human being. He is not unapproachable in any way, shape, and form. I think I even went up to him and gave him a hug without asking, and he reciprocated. So if you know me, you know that's kind of how I roll. But anyways, for the audience back home, we'll see you next time for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Take care, everyone.